Here are the top stories for today, January 12, 2021. The government intensifies efforts to curb online sexual exploitations among minors. More anti-COVID vaccines will arrive in the country. A voucher scheme is being implemented by the local government in Ilocos Norte. And vlogger Jam Magno is trending online after expressing her thoughts about the new People's Army. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nagrales said suspicious transaction reports related to online sexual exploitation during the pandemic reportedly doubled. To address it, Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nagrales today said that President Rodrigo Duterte ordered concrete actions to be done immediately. Nagrales said the president is bothered by reports on the surge on child pornography, particularly students who are selling nude photos online.
To address this, the government is adopting the recommendations of the Department of Justice, which are as follows. First, to direct the NTC to immediately impose sanctions on Internet Service Providers or ISPs for failure to fulfill their duties under Republic Act 9775. These duties, may we remind the ISPs, include, number one, immediately notifying the PNP or NBI within 7 days upon knowledge thereof that its server or facility is being used for child pornography. Two, the formulation of a case management protocol. And number three, the streamlining of online sexual exploitation information dissemination efforts to be headed by the PCOO. Pangatlo, and we call on Congress for this, to certify as priority the passage of bills pending in Congress to amend Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act. Malinaw po na hindi hahayaan ng gobyerno na madagdagan pa ang biktima ng sexual exploitation sa gitna ng kinakaharap nating pandemya.
The Task Force Zero Hunger receives praises from the President for its efforts in attaining long-term food security. The Interagency Task Force on Zero Hunger was created on January 10 last year to formulate the government's anti-hunger policies, initiatives, and projects. During the task force's virtual first anniversary, the President said he is pleased with the hard work and dedication of its men and women. Task Force Chairperson and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nagrales said that despite the pandemic and natural calamities, they will remain hopeful and diligent in ensuring that no Filipino will be left behind.
Just to give you an example, sa SWS survey, noong December of 2019, the hunger incidence of the country was 8.8. After COVID happened, dumoble to 16, naging 20, naging 30, but now it's back to 16. It's down to 16. So siguro ang magiging target natin sa the rest of 2021 is to bring it back to hopefully the 8.8 level as far as the SWS survey is concerned.
About 30 million doses of Covovax will arrive in the country by the third quarter of the year. This is confirmed by Fabrico Life Institute's Medical Director, Dr. Luningning Villa. Fabrico Life Institute is the local partner of Serum Institute of India, which is the world's largest vaccine manufacturer. Villa said the delivery will start within July, August, and September.
We are happy to share and confirm na ang term sheet ng pag-supply ng 30 million doses of Covovax ay napirmahan na. Ibig sabihin nito ay magkakaroon ng commitment na mag-supply ng 30 million doses ng Covovax ang Serum Institute sa Pilipinas. It can be stored at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade. No? So kahit doon sa malalayong barangay na merong health facility at magkakaroon ng vaccination, kayang-kaya po, stable pa rin po ang Covovax at those regular cold chain temperatures.
Apart from Covovax, the country has also secured 25 million doses of Sinovac vaccines and 2.6 million doses of vaccine from AstraZeneca, which are expected to arrive in the second quarter of the year. It is expected to be completed by December this year. The government has also been negotiating other pharmaceutical companies, including Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Gamaleya Institute. More local government units are availing of COVID-19 vaccines, which will be distributed to frontliners and vulnerable sectors as soon as they are made available. Here is our report from Marita Mawahe.
In Bulacan, the provincial government is eyeing to procure about 4 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine to cover the total household population in the province. Governor Daniel Fernando said part of the funds for the procurement will come from the provincial government's 6 billion pesos budget for this year. Meanwhile, Dagupan City in Pangasinan is set to acquire the initial 40,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine from the British pharmaceutical firm AstraZeneca. Mayor Mark Brian Lim said the priorities for the vaccine are high-risk individuals in the city, such as the frontliners and the vulnerable sector like the senior citizens. He said the city government is planning to launch a vaccination digital passport that will serve as proof that a person has been vaccinated. In Cebu City, about 400 million pesos was allocated by the local government for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccine. Mayor Edgardo Labella said the budget will be ready for disposal once the city government enters into a tripartite agreement with the national government and the vaccine supplier. The city has identified priority sectors for the vaccination, which will include medical frontliners, senior citizens, the police, and the military. In Negros Occidental, Governor Eugenio C. Lacson said the provincial government has sealed a deal with AstraZeneca for the purchase of 100,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines. These are intended for 50,000 persons. Lacson said that if it goes well, then they will ask for another batch, which may include other local government units and even those in the private sector. But for Ilocos Norte Governor Matthew Marcos Manotoc, he said they only pre-ordered vaccines for 60,000 Ilocanos because their infection rates are low and it may not be practical or economical to vaccinate everyone. He also said that though AstraZeneca is cheaper and easier to store, it has a lower efficacy level compared to other vaccines. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
As more local government units express their eagerness to procure COVID vaccines for their constituents, the Department of Health says they will not be able to do so without coordinating first with the national government. These include them and the National Task Force Against COVID-19. The DOH says this is meant to align the efforts of LGUs with the vaccine initiative of the national government, which integrates and consolidates all resources and initiatives. The Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, also clarified that the emergency use authorization does not cover the commercial use of the vaccines. This means that manufacturers cannot sell directly to the LGUs nor to any entity unless they are under the vaccine initiative of the national government. The government aims to vaccinate at least 60 million Filipinos in the next 3 to 5 years. Are you willing to take the coronavirus vaccine when it becomes available? Let's find out in our Boses ng Masa.
Kung sakaling totoo po yung bakuna ng vaccine na meron akong nakitang prueba na nabaksin yung tao, bakit hindi?
Oo naman, kung karapat-dapat. Para sa akin, yung vaccine na yan, para sa lahat, di ba? Dahil sa gumagalang sakit ng COVID. Eh ngayon, ang iba ayaw. Siyempre, hindi pa nila masyadong maintindihan. Pero kung mayroon na talagang nakitang pinag-vaccine ng gobyerno na maganda talaga ang naging resulta, bakit hindi papayag ang tao? Kung meron, okay lang. Kung wala, hindi tayo magpapabakuna. Pero kung kailangan, magpapabakuna ako. Kasi yan naman ang ating kailangan eh. Para makaano tayo sa ating, matapos ang ating COVID na yan.
Kung kailangan magpabaksin ako para mawala na yung COVID. Kasi para may panlaban na tayo.
Still to come, PNP Chief Debold Sinas wants a thorough investigation against police who handled the Seras case. Meanwhile, police officers involved in Jolo shooting have been released. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Pangalagaan ang sarili laban sa Coronavirus Disease 2019. Hanggat maaari, umiwas sa mataong lugar. Iwasang hawakan ang ilong at bibig, maging malinis sa katawan at ugaliin ang wastong paghuhugas ng kamay. Takpan ang ilong at bibig kung uubo o babahing. Umiwas sa mga taong nagpapakita ng sintomas ng coronavirus disease gaya ng lagnat, ubo at sipon. Magsuot ng face mask kung kinakailangan. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. Philippine National Police Chief Debold Sinas on Monday has ordered a probe into the possible lapses of the Makati policeman who investigated the death of flight attendant Christine Desera. Sinas directed the Directorate for Investigation and Detective Management to recommend to us not later than January 13 their findings on any liabilities of the Makati police in the ongoing investigation of the Desera case. Sinas also ordered the activation of a special investigation task group to submit developments and results on the ongoing criminal investigation. Desera was found lifeless in a bathtub of a hotel in Makati City after celebrating New Year's Eve with friends. The Makati City Prosecutor's Office has ordered a further investigation of the case and the release of 3 detained suspects due to insufficient evidence. The hearing of the preliminary investigation of the Desera case was set for January 13. The 9 Jolo police officers who were linked in the fatal shooting of 4 Army intelligence officers last year were released to the custody of their families and lawyers. PNP Chief General Debold Sinas said the courts have yet to issue an arrest warrant against the dismissed cops. Sinas said the PNP was forced to release the 9 cops last week as they did not want to be charged with arbitrary detention. Sinas earlier approved the dismissal from service of the 9 police officers. Meanwhile, the Armed Forces of the Philippines expressed disappointment with the release from custody of the 9 cops. AFP spokesperson Edgar Arevalo said, "It is unfortunate that despite the filing online of a multiple murder case before the regional trial court in Jolo last January 4, no warrants of arrest have been issued by the court." Despite this development, the AFP spokesperson said they assured that the AFP will work with relevant agencies for the issuance of the arrest warrants. Last week, a panel of prosecutors found probable cause to indict the 9 police officers for 4 counts of murder and planting of evidence. The panel also did not recommend bail for the accused. The 4 soldiers were conducting intelligence and monitoring operations against 2 suspected suicide bombers when gunned down by the 9 Jolo cops. The rehabilitation and rebuilding of the Grand Mosque in Marawi is in full swing as the government commits to restore this and other Muslim houses of prayer in the city. More of this from Claire Gighe.
Rehabilitation of the Grand Mosque within the most affected area of Marawi City has begun with the help of a private donor. In line with President Rodrigo Roa Duterte's promise for the restoration of mosques affected by the Marawi siege, Task Force Bangon Marawi or TFBM continues to work to find donors for it. The restoration of the mosque is expected to be completed before the end of 2021.
Binisita natin yan At nakita naman natin na medyo mabilis yung trabaho, marami silang workers. Tayo ay optimistic na masusundan pa yung mga donors natin at mas maraming mosque ang ating mapaparepair.
Apart from the Grand Mosque, repair works continue for Masjid Darussalam in Barangay Raya, Madaya 2, Masjid Sumangkop in Barangay Daguduban, Sultan Monsing Macabando Mosque in Barangay East Marinaut, and White Mosque in Barangay Lumbaca, Madaya, and the rebuilding of the Dansalan Batu Mosque are also ongoing. For PNA Newsroom, Claire Gighe of the Philippine Information Agency Iligan City Information Center.
In our business news, Fitch Ratings affirmation of its BBB investment grade rating with a stable outlook for the Philippines is expected to attract more investments. RCBC Chief Economist Michael Ricafort said the latest affirmation of the country's credit rating defies the adverse economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. He said this would encourage the entry of more foreign direct investments amid improved economic and credit fundamentals of the country. This would also lead to the generation of more economic activities needed to help sustain recovery after the lockdowns. The debt watchers affirmed the country's BBB rating but changed the outlook from positive to stable in May 2020. S&P Global Ratings also affirmed its BBB Plus rating with stable outlook on the country, and Moody's Investor Service affirmed its own rating at Baa2 with a stable outlook. In June last year, Japan Credit Rating Agency upgraded its investment grade rating on the Philippines from BBB Plus to A- with a stable outlook. Up next, vlogger Jam Magno is trending online after expressing her thoughts about the new People's Army. And we will find out if the voucher scheme works in Ilocos Norte. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang mga dapat gawin sa lugar ng trabaho laban sa Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ang mga kumpanya ay dapat magbigay ng face mask sa kanilang mga empleyado. Bukod dito, magbigay kaalaman din patungkol sa COVID-19. Siguraduhing malinis ang kapaligiran. Maglagay ng sabon at hand sanitizer sa mga palikuran. Siguraduhing ligtas at nalutong maigi ang mga pagkain sa kantina. Obserbahan ang kalusugan ng mga empleyado at katrabaho. Kung sakali man na mayroon silang sintomas ng coronavirus disease, gaya ng lagnat, ubot sipon at hirap sa paghinga, ay agad ipasuri sa doktor. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Social media personality Jam Magno trended online after lambasting the new People's Army for neglecting their comrades and child warriors who died in armed encounters. Magno said even the solid members of the CPP-NPA are being left behind once they were shot and killed on the battlefield. She said the military forces would be the ones who will pick up the rebels' bodies and bring them back to their families. In another video clip, she railed against the CPP-NPA-NDF's recruitment and exploitation of minors. Magno, a native of Butuan City in Mindanao and a staunch supporter of President Rodrigo Duterte, gained popularity for posting various videos on societal issues. Some of her TikTok clips denounce the atrocities and other illegal activities of the CPP-NPA. Magno's video clips were also fueled by issues on the CPP-NPA's recruitment of the youth and indigenous peoples into the armed movement. Laoag City reverted to general community quarantine effective Monday following a spike in COVID-19 cases in the city. Governor Matthew Joseph Manotoc underscored that leisure travel and parties in Laoag are highly discouraged while the outbreak is being contained. Meantime, it will be business as usual for authorized persons outside residence. As of 12 noon Sunday, Lawag City has logged a total of 124 active cases with 297 recoveries and 0 deaths. Meanwhile, Ilocos Norte has pre-ordered an initial 120,000 doses of coronavirus vaccines from British pharmaceutical firm AstraZeneca to cover at least 10% or 60% population of Ilocos Norte. Ilocos Norte is experimenting with the use of a voucher scheme to stimulate the local economy and cushion the effects of the global pandemic. The scheme, dubbed as Shop-in Gift Cards, uses a personalized shopping voucher worth 200 pesos each. These vouchers are being administered and distributed by the provincial government through the Ilocos Norte Trade and Investment Promotion Center. A total of 2,000 persons with disabilities are the latest recipients of the shopping gift cards. Each beneficiary is entitled to receive gift cards amounting to 1,000 pesos. The gift card distribution is part of the Reimagine to Stimulate Economy program, which focuses on helping local businesses as well as consumers. The project was conceptualized in October last year after Governor Matthew Joseph Manotoc met with business owners. Passengers from the Philippines transiting to Incheon, Korea are no longer required to present a negative RT-PCR test upon check-in at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. In a Facebook post, Korean Air said this is a directive of the Korean government and is effective immediately. The airline added that requirements from the origin or destination country must be checked separately. KE also reminds that measures against COVID-19, such as wearing of face masks at the transit area and temperature checks, are still in place. Also, those originating from the UK and South Africa with temperatures of 37.3 degrees and above will not be allowed to board. Gilas Pilipinas men has resumed their training bubble at the Inspire Sports Academy in Calamba ahead of the final window of the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers. Leading the initial training pool is NLEX guard Kiefer Ravena, who announced through Instagram that he was called up again for national team duty. Also returning to the practice are PBA draftees Isaac Go, Matt and Mike Nieto, and Ray Suerte, and collegiate stars JV Gomez Del Llano, Dave Idelfonso, Justin Bastasar, Calvin Oftana, William Navarro, and Ken Mark Carino. Ateneo Center Angge Kwame, whose naturalization is being processed in Congress, also joined the training. Jong Uichiko was tasked again to train Gilas men, along with National Team Program Director Tab Baldwin, Boyet Fernandez, and Sandy Arespacochaga. Meralco Gaffer Norman Black and Rain or Shine Chief Tactician Caloy Garcia were also named to the coaching staff. Some more PBA stars are expected to join the training bubble later this month. The Department of Health in the Cordillera Administrative Region, or CAR, is advising everyone to keep warm and protected from the cold weather. This after Pag-asa registered a temperature of 10.8 degrees Celsius on Monday and the lowest temperature this year so far at 10.4 degrees Celsius the day before. The temperature in high elevation areas in the Cordillera drops in January and February due to the northeast monsoon or amihan. The DOH said the cold temperature aggravates upper respiratory tract infection, asthma, and allergies of a person. Aside from wearing thick clothing to keep the body warm, everyone is encouraged to eat a healthy and balanced diet, take vitamins, supplements, and exercise to boost the immune system. Staying at home may also prevent triggering illnesses such as asthma and allergic rhinitis. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. The government intensifies efforts to curb online sexual exploitations among minors. More anti-COVID vaccines will arrive in the country. A voucher scheme is being implemented by the local government in Ilocos Norte. And vlogger Jam Magno is trending online after expressing her thoughts about the new People's Army. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day to everyone.